Hi everybody, I'm Jack the Rambling Raconteur, and I hope that you're well. It is Tuesday night, so I thought I'd throw together a quick Tag Tuesday book tag. Although it did seem to be all quiet on the tag front in this part of Booktube today, so I don't know, this video might be violating a tag truce that I was unaware of. Nevertheless, I'll be doing the Buddy Read tag. It was originally created by Noah from Everyone Who Reads It Must Converse, and I was kindly tagged by Alan from Big Hard Books and Classics. I'll link both their videos in the description box below. So let's jump in, find out what this is all about. Prompt 1, accountability. Great, one of those. Do you like buddy reads? Well, yes. I think that's why we're all here. We enjoy reading books and we enjoy talking about that. And those conversations are fantastic. Buddy reading is not the only way to have those conversations, but it can be really nice to do a deep dive with a person or with a community of readers. And I love to learn from other people. I love to learn with other people. And I love to just keep making the connections that exist between not just works, but between each other and our lives, our experiences. And the one thing I'll say about like a buddy read is when you're having those conversations, you get to, in a sense, peer through the window someone else has into a text, not just through your own window. So sharing that divergent perspective is just fantastic. So yes, I enjoy it. Prompt 2, sharing. Is there an ideal-sized group for these? Absolutely, greater than one. Now, I enjoy the sort of two-person deep dive conversation. That's something my wife and I have been doing for 12 years. It's wonderful. And you don't just get to know like the book, you get to know someone else. You get to know yourself as well. And I think that's really wonderful. That said, I've been a part of some of the larger community reads, and those can be just as fun. Sometimes they take on the sense of a school study group. So you have the person who's sort of, we're going to be on task, this is our schedule, here's how many pages we're reading, here's the day we're going to check in. You have somebody else who might just be there for the jokes. Sometimes that's me. You may have the person who doesn't always share a huge number of ideas, but every idea that person shares is spot on. It opens a new window for you. You go, oh my gosh, yes, like, why didn't I think of that? You're so spot on with that. So that can be really fun. Now, prompt 3, duration. Are shorter or longer works better for these community reads? Well, life happens. So a schedule can help. A schedule, I think, can provide some flexibility in terms of we're going to read 100 pages or 50 pages a week. Here's the day we're going to check in. You can read it all at once. You can read it on the weekend. You can read 20 pages a night. Whatever works. It does seem that 200 to 400 pages roughly is what most people aim for. But longer works can be very fruitful. One of the most delightful experiences I had last summer was following along with Jason Harrigan's read-along sort of reading guide to Foucault's Pendulum by Umberto. This is a dense work. It is weird. It can feel very, very, very dense at times. Yet with Jason's videos and the insight he brought through those, it was amazing. It was a great reading experience, even though it was very long. I think it would be really cool to do the Decameron and break it up with each day being a month. So the first day is January, second day is February, third day is March, and so on through October. And just having maybe a monthly check-in and really giving time for like the work to breathe. So you could choose to read all 10 stories from the first day at the end of January. You could choose to read a couple every Saturday. You could choose to read roughly a story every 3 days. And just have conversations around it. And it would be a very long, extended conversation. But I think that could be cool. The other one I want to add is it seems like most of these community reads happen around two types of works, either nonfiction or more serious literary fiction. I think people feel like there's themes or prose style or whatever that needs attention and serious conversation and insight. And maybe it does. But I also love crime fiction, and my wife and I have read like crime novels together. It's been fantastic. We don't just talk about the plot too. So I think opening up the genres that people are reading together, that could be fun. I see some science fiction, but almost no crime fiction. I will add that I see very little poetry, although Alan from Big Hard Books and Classics is doing one with The Dream Songs by Berryman. And I think it would be cool to have sort of those conversations around specific poems. I think that could be really fun. And I see very little around drama. Moliere's Don Juan. This volume has The Birds by Aristophanes. Those are great plays. And I think drama is just as enjoyable to discuss as any other genre. So that was sort of an unspoken corollary to the duration question, in my personal opinion. Prompt 4, community. There are many types of readers, and there are. Share a meeting of the minds. Well, my favorite reading partner is my wife, and we've been reading for 12 years. This year we reread The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova. It was a book we had read together the first year we were dating. And it was great to see, sort of rediscover all the things we loved about the book and rediscover the different ways the things we had loved the first time and that we loved the second time again, or things that had changed. The travel writing, the writing around food. We still loved the weird like libraries that you end up in. And so we had just as wonderful a conversation the second time as we did the first time. So The Historian. Prompt 5. Perspectives. There are many types of readers. Sure, a difference in perspective. So that would be another read with my wife, Romance in Marseille by Claude McKay. And this was a book we read together last year, and I thought it was amazing. And then as she described some of the ambivalence she had around sort of appreciating the book and some questions she had, I started to like try to put myself in her shoes, look through that window into the text and see how valid her questions were. And it certainly challenged my own reading. I still think it's great. But, her questions and her ambivalence was totally valid. And I think, a person can love or hate a work and still love the person they're reading with. So, Romance in Marseille, I recommend it. Prompt 6, challenges. Share a private or public challenge to read out of your comfort zone. Well, I've shared a couple of times. I generally try to read more widely, just all the time. And one of the ways I do that is by trying to mix up genres. I might read a play, and then I might read a work of nonfiction, and then a work of science fiction, and then some poetry, and then some more like serious literary fiction, and then a crime novel, and just constantly trying to mix things up. But I do try to read widely. I try to read more widely. I'm not always successful with that, but it doesn't mean that it's not a goal to have. Prompt 7, events. What is your favorite reading event and why? Now, in terms of community, I've noticed this over the past year and a half. I think one of the things that really helps is when everybody is reading the same book. I think the conversations are just richer, they're deeper. Connections exist in any, tag or review of a book, call, whatever. The connections exist are there, but they're deeper, and I think sometimes they feel more meaningful. If everybody's sort of focused on the same text and having that discussion around the same text. It was true with Sound and Fury and Faulkner in August. It was true with Sagalong when we read Njaal's saga this year. And so I think those events are the ones that I really gravitate towards because it feels like a much deeper communal experience. And I just think the conversations can feel richer. The other thing I really enjoy about events are the ones where the hosts really like take on that hosting. And they're commenting on everybody's videos. They're jumping. It just feels like there's somebody who's constantly like encouraging the whole community in that event. I think those are really wonderful. I appreciate that. That's one event I did last year. It was some sort of read along in August. Was Augustus Long, where we read the 12 Caesars of Suetonius, and I had a lot of fun with that. I don't know if anybody else did, but I'd like to continue that with the Augustan history. It was the classical world sequel, like actual sequel to the 12 Caesars. And in some ways it functions as a sequel, and Penguin publishes it as the Lives of the Later Caesars. And this edition also has 2 like fill-in lives. Suetonius ends with Domitian. This would pick up, and there would be a gap of 2 Caesars, but there are lives of Nerva and Trajan that are added in here to fill in that gap. But you get the 5 good emperors, I should say the 5 good emperors, and then it goes into roughly the middle of the 3rd century. So there's about 130 years of the Roman Empire, and it sort of reaches an apogee, and then everything goes to hell pretty quickly. It's an underread book. I don't know that I ever see some of these emperors discussed, but I think it's really interesting, particularly as the crisis of the 3rd century starts to pick up. And I'd like to do that. It would be about 80 pages a week if anybody else is interested. And even if nobody isn't, I might still do it in this August. So, there we go. Prompt 8, can't stop. A booktuber you have read the most with. Well, obviously that's my wife. But second place, a very close second, would be my daughters. And The Lorax is just a great book that we've enjoyed reading together, and really actually like reading and discussing together, discussing what the characters are doing, what the theme of the book is, what the illustrations signify, all the different choices that exist in it. That's wonderful. That said, in terms of like Booktube proper, I've got 3 that are tied. It's 2 books each. So, first one would be Alan from Big Hard Books and Classics. We read Native Son last summer together. It was amazing. And then The Sound and the Fury for Faulkner in August. That's 2. Also tied at 2 would be Brian at Bookish, because we read The Sound and the Fury together. And then we're currently reading the USA trilogy from John Dos Passos. So with the 42nd parallel completed, that's 2 books with Brian as well. And then the third one would be Elizabeth of Aachen from the Books North, because we read Njal Saga together for Sagalon. And then The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin just a couple of weeks ago. And I will say that with each of those 3, I look forward to reading more books with them. They have so many wonderful insights. They each bring something different to the reading experience that I don't necessarily bring. And so I learned so much from them, and I truly look forward to reading with each of them again. The weird, like, honorable mention would be the Codex Cantina, in part because we have some of the same short story anthologies, Book of Japanese Short Stories, the Berryman's library, bedtime stories, where usually what happens is I will see that they're going to do a story, I will wait until they've done the video, I'll read the story, then I'll watch the video, and then like through Vox or in the comments we'll have a conversation around just different things I thought they talked about really well, or other ideas I see. So all of those stories kind of add up to being a fair amount of reading together as well. So there you go. Prompt 9, Won't Stop. A booktuber you haven't yet read with, but would like to. I have a whole group, and there's plenty more. But 2 that are in the Reading Euro 2021 Euro Cup Challenge, who just have a great sense of personality and I'd love to read with, would be Mark from Book Time with Elvis and Sandy from Miss Reads a Lot. They seem to have a great sense of humor. I would love to read a crime novel with Duncan McCurdy. He mentioned Chester Himes being one of his favorite writers, and I think that would be really cool. Tom from Tom LA Books. We've kind of batted around a couple of ideas, and so I'm hoping that if I were to do this again next year, Tom would be, in my responses to 8 or 7 or something. And then 2 others who I think would just have a different perspective, like everything they share, I learned so much from their videos, would be Carrie from Very Literary Carrie, and then Jen from Remembered Reads. So there's a whole group. Hope to learn from all of them, and we all get to read together. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know what your favorite event is. Let me know if you'd like to join in on reading the lives of the later Caesars. It's certainly a trip. I don't know if it's a party, but it's a trip. And again, I really hope everybody's doing well. Thank you.